Deafness and hearing loss. There are various terms used to describe individuals with a hearing loss. Some of those terms include deaf, hard of hearing, hearing impaired, or having a hearing disorder. Many individuals with deafness refer to themselves as being members of the deaf community and view themselves as a unique cultural group who use sign language as a primary language. The media and others in society sometimes use terms such as hearing impaired, deaf mute, deaf and dumb, and hearing deficient to refer to individuals with deafness. However, individuals in the deaf community view these terms as offensive because they imply that the deaf individual is broken or inferior. There are variations in how an individual identifies themselves as deaf or hard of hearing. Some individuals with congenital hearing loss, or they were born deaf or hard of hearing, they do not consider themselves as having a hearing loss. Some individuals acquire hearing loss later in life and identify themselves as late deafened. There are various types of hearing loss, which includes conductive, sensory neural, mixed, and central. Conductive hearing loss occurs from diseases or obstructions in the middle or outer ear. Conductive hearing losses usually affect all frequencies of hearing evenly and do not result in severe losses. And conductive hearing loss can be improved through amplification or hearing aids. Now let's take a look at sensory neural hearing loss. Sensory neural hearing loss results from damage in the inner ear or along the nerve pathway to the brain stem. This type of damage affects the person's ability to hear certain frequencies more than others. And a person with a sensory neural hearing loss may perceive distorted sounds even with amplification. Now let's talk about mixed hearing loss. Mixed hearing loss involves both conductive and sensory neural hearing loss, which means that a problem occurs in both the outer or middle and the inner ear. And then there is central hearing loss. Central hearing loss results from damage or impairment to the nerves or nuclei of the central nervous system, either in pathways to the brain or in the brain itself. There is a connection between hearing and learning. So if a student has a hearing loss that is untreated or does not receive services or support, the student may experience delays in development of speech and language, which may lead to learning problems, often resulting in poor school performance. And since poor academic performance is often accompanied by inattention or sometimes poor behavior, children with a hearing loss are often misidentified as having specific learning disabilities or ADHD. Students who are hard of hearing or deaf generally require special education services to receive an adequate education. And some examples of these services may include, but not limited to, speech, language, and auditory training from a specialist, amplification systems, services from a sign language interpreter, preferential seating to facilitate lip reading, or closed captioned films or videos. So students with hearing loss or deafness may have trouble with various aspects of verbal communication, such as vocabulary, grammar, word order, or figurative speech. So it is important for educators to incorporate the use of visible communication modes and assistive technology, such as sign language, finger spelling, cued speech, or amplification devices to help reduce this language delay. There are various strategies that general and special education teachers can use in the classroom to help support the learning of students with deafness or hearing loss, such as the use of visual communication modes, providing lessons, outlines, or guided notes, being sure to only speak while facing forward to help students who rely on lip reading, keeping background noise down to a minimum as much as possible, providing closed caption services such as CART or communication access real-time translation, and providing enhanced lessons such as using pictures, certain visuals, graphics, and text labels. But most important, encourage your students to participate in all classroom and extracurricular activities. To apply what you learned in Chapter 11, review the section Identifying a Hearing Loss, pages 336 to 338, and reflect on the following questions. What is the purpose of an audiological evaluation? What are the criteria usually considered by a multidisciplinary team or the IEP team when determining eligibility for special education services for students with a hearing loss? Then review the section Recommended Educational Practices for Students who are deaf or hard of hearing, pages 334 to 347, and reflect on the following questions. How can a student with a hearing impairment be supported in a regular education classroom? And what do content area teachers need to do to meet the needs of students with hearing impairments? And as I have mentioned in the previous chapters, this activity is not a required assignment, but it is an opportunity for you to apply what you learned in Chapter 11.